Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to English Storytime with Mark. I'm your host, Mark. Today, we are reaching way back in time to colonial America for today's story. It's actually based on a novel entitled Wieland, or The Transformation. It was the first major novel by Charles Brockden Brown and was published in 1798. Wow. So this is an entire novel, but I've shortened it down to a short story for our purposes today. So the story is called Wieland, or The Transformation. My name is Clara Wieland, and this is the story of how my family's peaceful life turned into a nightmare. My brother, Theodore Wieland, and I grew up in a quiet home near the Schuylkill River in Pennsylvania. I hope I got that right. Our parents had died when we were young, leaving us a large house and enough money to live comfortably. We spent our days reading, discussing philosophy, and enjoying the company of our close friends, including Playle, my brother's best friend, and Catherine, his loving wife. Our lives were simple and happy until the voices began. Isn't that always the case? One evening, as we sat outside talking, a strange voice interrupted us. It was deep and commanding, but we could not see anyone. The voice warned Theodore about something dangerous. We searched the area, but no one was there. We were frightened, but Theodore believed the voice was a sign from God. He had always been religious, even more than our father, who had died mysteriously while praying in his study. After that night, the voice returned again and again, speaking to my brother in secret. At first, the messages seemed harmless, but they became darker over time. Theodore started acting strangely, sometimes happy and hopeful, other times fearful and distant. Catherine and I worried about him, but he insisted that everything was fine. Then, something even more terrifying happened. One night, Playle heard a voice that sounded exactly like me, but it wasn't me. The voice told him lies, terrible lies, that made him believe I had betrayed him. When I saw him the next day, he looked at me with anger and disgust. I didn't understand why until he accused me of being unfaithful. No matter how much I denied it, he refused to believe me. Heartbroken and confused, I could do nothing as he left, convinced I had deceived him. Days later, our peaceful world shattered completely. One morning, I went to visit my brother's house. As I stepped inside, an unnatural silence filled the air. Then I saw something that made my blood turn cold. Catherine and her children lay dead. My beloved sister-in-law, my dear nephews, gone. And standing over them, with empty eyes and shaking hands, was Theodore. He looked at me with an eerie calmness and said, "I had to do it. God commanded me." I couldn't breathe. My heart pounded as I stepped backward, shaking my head. "Theodore, what have you done?" His expression did not change. He truly believed he was obeying a higher power. The voices, those voices he had heard, had led him to commit this horrible act. I ran from the house screaming for help. When the neighbors arrived, they found Theodore kneeling beside his family, still whispering prayers. He did not resist when they took him away. As I struggled to make sense of what had happened, a shocking truth was revealed. A man named Carwin came forward and admitted something unbelievable. He could throw his voice, making it sound like it came from different places. He had been using this strange ability to play tricks on us. He had made Plale believe I was unfaithful. He had whispered messages to Theodore. But Carwin swore he never told Theodore to kill his family. He had only wanted to test his abilities, to see how much he could influence people. He never expected Theodore to go mad. It didn't matter. The damage was done. Theodore was locked away, but he still believed he had done the right thing. He showed no remorse, convinced he had obeyed God's will. I visited him, hoping to reach whatever was left of my brother, but he looked at me with empty eyes as if I were a stranger. Then, one night, he escaped. I knew he would come for me next. I stayed awake, waiting, my heart racing. When he finally appeared, his face was twisted with pain. I have failed, he whispered. I have done evil, not good. For the first time, he saw the truth. The realization crushed him. Unable to live with what he had done, Theodore took his own life. After Theodore's death, I left our home forever. The memories were too painful, the shadows too deep. I would never understand why fate had destroyed us. Was it Carwin's fault? Or was there truly a dark force beyond human understanding? I will never know, but I will always remember the horror that began with a single voice in the dark. Very dark story, wasn't it? Again, it's called Wieland, or The Transformation, and I hope that this reading may inspire you to find this story and check it out for yourself. Just try to find a version that's not written in 18th century English, because I think you will find it very difficult to understand. That's all for today, and I hope to see you next time. Bye, everybody.